Yeah, we are live. I don't
Yeah,
know
we
what
are.
happened there. Yes, guys. Hello and welcome back to the Spurs-related YouTube channel and podcast. I hope everyone is doing well. Today, we have got another live stream for you. The transfer window may be over, but the Champions League squad has just been announced, and we also are going to do a bit of a review on the transfer window. Frank did a video, an offline one earlier on, so go and check that out after this as well. And also, Frank has posted a video on his new channel. But as you can see, I'm joined alongside Thomas Frank's AI son himself. Frank, how you doing, mate? And are you happy the transfer window carnage is over? I feel like there's some more carnage with this Champions League announcement now as well.
Yeah, I'm all good first and foremost. But no, I'm pleased that the window's over. I was getting slightly drained of reading the same monitoring, edging closer to interested in rumours every day about players we probably weren't going to sign. So it's quite nice that we actually can chill out a little bit now and hopefully settle down with what we've got and who we've got.
Absolutely, mate. And as you guys can see from the video, things aren't calming down just yet because I guess a lot of debates happening on Twitter and X right now and YouTube about this Champions League draw, which we'll get onto screen in just a minute. But guys, let us know in the chat how you're feeling about the transfer window, and we're going to do a summary at the end, rating the window out of 10. And of course, as always, make sure you are smashing like, smashing subscribe, and turning on the notification bells down below. But Frank, I'm going to hand the mic to you on this Champions League news. And yeah, pretty big news, especially that man at the start there.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of probably expected Basuma, or I definitely expected Basuma wouldn't be in it. Madison and Kulu, because Kulu's not going to really be back until maybe the last game or two if he's going to be fit then. Dragusin, I kind of expected as well. Makes it even more insane that they have not signed the centre half. But that's kind of a talk about we'll get onto later. Takai, I kind of expected as well. So that's two centre halves of your five available, not in the squad. And then obviously Matisse Tell is the main sort of talking point of the evening. I'm a bit confused. He obviously, I mean, the very obvious sort of kind of bit that stands out is that he isn't a fan of Matisse Tell, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. I am. I get maybe he's not. If that is the case, I don't know why they've signed him for 30 million quid. You could have used that 30 million quid elsewhere and bought someone that maybe he actually wanted. I saw James Moore of The Athletic made a really, really good point where if you'd signed a Kyle Walker-Peters, for example, on a free, then you could have picked him instead of Ben Davies and actually had Matisse Tell in the squad because of the homegrown and club trained sort of rules and policies. So I'm disappointed that Tell's not in it because I felt that there were some games in there, Copenhagen and Slavia Prague and Villarreal, you know, especially that he probably could have made a bit of an impact and shown some talent and then maybe got a foothold in that Tottenham team and actually began to get some minutes. But for now, I mean, unless he's playing in the Premier League or that Doncaster game, I'm not sure he's going to get as many minutes as one I hoped and two also probably believed. So it's disappointing. I feel sorry for him. I hope, obviously, because you know he had the rough night in the Super Cup and whatever. So I imagine his confidence is probably at an all-time low. I'm very, as I say, confused by the lot of it. I don't understand why they've bought him if he's just going to be this out of favour. They gave Thomas Frank the choice, and he said he wanted him, and he obviously isn't massively keen. So I'm slightly confused by it, but the rest of it is kind of as expected, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, I think this says an awful lot about where Tell stands in the squad, and like you said, his confidence is at an all-time low, which you got to feel for the guy. But at the same time, you have to question why he was signed on a permanent if he's not in Thomas Frank's plans. You know, so let's get up some of the chat, and we'll come back round and give you a bit more update, guys. And apologies, I'm a little bit. So apologies if that does happen. I will have to try and sort that out. But Daniel Levy, deadline day stinkers as per usual, says Ayanami. No aura, no charm, no negotiating skills. Easy Grow on a budget says 8.5 for transfers, and we had a great result with the draw. Army saying, feel bad for Tell. Yeah. And it says a lot about his, in the pecking order. The squad is what it is. As not having telling the squad just makes it clear Thomas Frank didn't want to sign him. Money could have been used on another player, very poor. And Logan's in the house saying, good evening, lads. Hope you're well. Hope you're doing well as well, matey. Frank, I'm going to let you take the lead because I'm trying to keep an eye on it if I'm lagging or not. And I can see it's lagging a little bit. So I'll let you sort of take the lead for a little bit, mate.
Yeah, all good, all good. I think also as well, another thing that I kind of touched on talking about that squad announcement, and the bit that confuses me just as much as the hotel thing, it is why they haven't gone and got a centre half. I mean, so they've got obviously Romero, Mickey van der Ven, Kevin Danso, and Ben Davies, if you will, right, and I guess Archie Gray you can kind of include if you have to. He's a real last resort, but the fact that we're going into the season is 3 games deep, and we're already discussing the possibility of Archie Gray playing the centre half is a concern for me. I mean, the squad there. I mean, on the video that earlier on that I did, I kind of touched on it that I think there's a number of gaps in there still. Whilst the window was great, I think there's a number of gaps. I think that we are missing a fullback. I really do. Your Dodgy's one that's had his injury problems since he's been at Spurs. And then obviously I judge it a little bit differently with Ange because I think these players were running to the ground a little bit and this high line and everything. So I'm judging it a little bit differently. But since he's been at Spurs, which has been since Ange was there, he has had injury problems. And you've got 3 fullbacks, 4 if you include Ben Davies. But as I say, if you want to compete on all 4 fronts and win the Premier League and the Champions League, like Daniel Levy supposedly does, then Ben Davies isn't good enough to do so. And that's no disrespect to him. He's a decent backup. He's all right. But if one gets injured or 2 get injured, you're in a really big problem. Especially if you lose Porro or Spence. Because if you lose Porro or Spence, then you run your Dodgy into the ground. And he's the one that I fear getting injured the most currently. So that's an issue. And as I say, the centre halves, you've left 2 of your 5 in the squad out. I mean, we have a lot of players, as I said in the video earlier on, a lot of players who can do jobs in certain roles and can play in certain places, but don't specialise in one role. And that's a problem for me. Ben Davies is one. Jed Spence is kind of another. You need to have a squad where players, and if worse comes to worse, you can use Jed Spence as a left back, for example, or as a right back, for example, but make one of them his side. Have it that is his side. Unless there's a real injury crisis, he's playing there, and you're going to build a squad that you know this person plays here, this person plays here, and I understand the idea of having players that can play in different roles, and it does help, but we seem to build a squad around them right now. We've got a lot of players who can play in a lot of different places, and that's great, but it's also a negative, I think. So I'm slightly. It does make me question why they didn't sign a centre half at least or a fullback late in the window on loan. We spoke about Akanji, we spoke about Ake, I spoke about Lucas Beraldo of PSG as well. I'm slightly confused why they didn't bring in a defender. And then, as I say, the whole Tell situation is very odd. I mean, this is also kind of what I mean, that Van der Ven has played well at left back, and that's great, but you haven't got a left-sided centre half either. The fact they've left it short and not signed a centre half left back or centre half right back sort of combination or player that can do both, as I say, that I have a bit of a problem with. But if that was worst case scenario, I'm very surprised. The squad's not a great shock. I'm just slightly surprised by how. I think this really shows the lack of and real lack of planning that's kind of gone into this summer. Actually,
do you think that this changes the out of 10s we were giving it, given the fact that we didn't realise that we had to leave out certain players that we may not have wanted to do so, Frank?
Yeah, I mean, wait, one sec. Sorry, can you repeat that slightly? Because I heard half of it and then.
Is it still playing up?
Yeah,
I just basically said, do you think it affects the rating of the window?
Yeah. I think it does. I think, and that's not any. It's weird, right? As I say, it's really tough this window, and it's probably the most difficult window I've looked at as a Spurs fan, because the players we've signed are actually really good, and I'm really pleased with the players we've signed. Tell I'm now really questioning, but the other 4 mainly. I'm very pleased with. But it doesn't feel like it's enough. As I said the other day, that we tend to do enough to make you believe and not actually achieve, and that's a major issue. And it feels like that again. It does feel like, and I don't want to worry about something that's not here, because 90% of what you worry about doesn't actually end up happening. But it does feel like I can see it from a mile off December, when we got a tough run of games. And I mean, there's November. I think I looked at the schedule in November. We play United, Chelsea, Arsenal, PSG, Fulham, and Copenhagen, right? 7 games in the month, and there's an international break in there. So you need a squad, and they're all tough games. And we're talking that these guys are gonna get cropped, because they are intense, high level games, and they're gonna struggle. And that, for me, is a really big worry. I mean, Juno Byfield, for example, right? Top talent, looks like a great player, but I think it's certainly a concern for me, and I'm not sure if it is, for anyone watching. But it's the 3rd of September, and we're already contemplating the possibility of having to play a just turned 16-year-old at centre half, a guy who's as great as he looks, and he's playing up his level. He's playing a high level and everything for his age. It's amazing. But I am slightly concerned by the possibility that these things come November, when we play Arsenal, Chelsea, PSG, United, all this. And same again in December and January, when games come thick and fast, that we're not going to have a squad that's capable enough, and that worries me.
Absolutely, mate. I'm just going to be 2 minutes, because it's absolutely, maybe get the squad up, and the squad on screen that's been announced.
Give me 1 second, and I will. If I bring myself back on.
Just bring me on screen. Just bring me back.
Oh God, what have I done? There we go.
I'll be 30 seconds. By the way, guys, numbers are insane. I don't know if I'm still lagging. I need to sort it out, but numbers are insane. 100 and something, and it's not even transfers. So make sure you're hitting like, hitting subscribe, and throwing in the notification bell as well. But I'll be 1 second, and I'll be back.
Cool. I'm just, whilst James does that, I'm going to get the Champions League squad up. Let me just find a tweet that I can I'll bring up the full squad so that it can be seen. Obviously, the youth players, I think, I want to say they can just be thrown in as well whenever. So it doesn't really matter. Let's bring up a comment or two as well. Super Spurs TV, one of our members, of course. Be concerned lack of centre-back options, only being Van der Ven, Romero and Danso, with Davies as the backup. I think we should sacrifice one more spot. But yeah, I can't help but agree. But this is kind of my thing, right? That you've got 5 centre-halves at the club, and 2 of them aren't in the squad. I guess you've got Ben Davies if you count 6 centre-halves, but I think it's all a bit of a mess, actually. And I think that a lot of the planning is pretty poor, I have to say. Let me get this tweet up. This is the Champions League squad, courtesy of Spurs Zone on Twitter, or X. Give me 1 second. Share screen. Right. Let's get what's going on. There we go. Also, as well, Cam, you're a member as well. I imagine that you got one of the ones the other day, which I think Super Spurs TV passed out. So I'm glad you've got one, and glad we've seen that. We don't know when they're back from injury. Very, very true. So the squad is as follows: Vicario, Kinski, and Brandon Austin, the 3 goalkeepers. Porro, Spence, Romero, Danso, Van der Ven, Udogie, and Davies make up the back line. Palinha, Gray, Bentancur, Bergvall, and Sarr make up the sort of holding, more defensive midfielders, the double pivot, if you will. Xavi Simons makes up the first sort of attacking midfielder in the squad, with Kudus, Johnson, Odobert on the wings, and Richarlison, Solanke, Kolo, Muani as the 3 striker options. Now, first things first, it's positive because it means Solanke, the injury isn't as bad as we first thought, right? Everyone was sort of saying possibly 2 or 3 months. Solanke's obviously fit, so that's very, very good news. Obviously, he might miss a month, but he's going to be back before probably October time. You would like to think, so that's really good news. In terms of the rest of it, as I say, it just looks short to me, right? It looks short. I mean, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 defensive options, and you've got 8 tough games, 7 defensive options, and 4, if not 5 of them are going to start every week. I mean, if a couple of injuries come about, if a Udogie gets injured, or Van der Ven or Romero, or even more than one, 2 or 3 of them get injured, you've got a serious problem. So that's a concern. I think the midfield is all right. Paulinho, Gray, Bentancur, Bergvall, Sarr, fine. That's okay. Simmons, obviously, you want to try and keep fit because he's the only actual 10 out and out 10 we have at the club, so that's important. And then obviously Kudus, Johnson, Odegaard are the wingers. You got sort of my worry is on the wings. You haven't got as much. You haven't got as much depth, maybe, that if you start Kudus and Johnson, let's say, that the only winger you kind of really have to turn to is Odegaard, which is a bit of a worry. But I guess you'd also have 2 of Kolo, Muani, Richarlison, Solanke. So there should be enough in there. But I do think we are a little bit short, which is a bit of a concern. Agree with that. I think the problem doesn't come from the lack of signs; it's the lack of club-trained players. It is. I mean, as I say, James Moore put out a really good tweet where he said that if they'd gone out and signed Kyle Walker-Peters on a free, I'm not saying that was the right, but someone of that, it would have made a lot of sense. Bring him in, plays the cup games. He could have been in the Champions League squad over Ben Davies, and Matisse Tell could have then been in it. Kev, thank you very much, mate. Archie Gray is another defensive option. Defenders don't tend to come on as subs. I do agree. But my fear is that, as I say, it's early September and we're talking about the possibility of Archie Gray playing centre-back and Juno Byfield and these guys, and that's a bit of a concern. And had 7 defensive options. He did, but in a easier level, right? That I do agree that the squad probably wasn't. All right, yeah, no, good point. Very good. I forget the manager's called Frank as well. I'll forget that ever happened. Very fair point. I think in regards to this, I think it's true, but you could also kind of rotate more. That you could play Archie Gray at centre back in that a little bit if you have to and stuff. Solely because the quality is lower. But when you go to PSG and things, you need the top players. You need the best players playing. And that I fear we're a little bit short of. We need a blooper section. Very true. That would do numbers, I reckon. I think we missed a thing when someone leaves Villarreal on loan. To be honest, I'm quite pleased. He's gone. I think for a number of reasons. I think he's one that probably benefits us from him going. So yeah, I'm not sure he would have really been. If Tell isn't in the squad, I don't think he would have been a part of this. We're keeping an eye on Simmons tomorrow. I believe the players have gone international break, come back in one piece. Knowing our luck, Xavi Simmons is probably going to break his leg playing for Holland. That would be my guess. They're playing Poland tomorrow, I want to say. I imagine he'll start. I don't see why he wouldn't. But yeah, so that is the news of the squad. Just quickly as well, 160 of you watching on YouTube, 60 odd watching on X, and a few of you on Facebook as well. So over 210 of you in the house, which is unbelievable. Support has been amazing. As we always say, James will hopefully be back soon if he can sort out his connection. But as we always say, like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you haven't already. And if you want to contribute financially, then super chats are there to create a talking point in the chat. And so are memberships in the description. You can come on here, have a chat with us. And that is. And here he is. Perfect timing.
Right. You guys have got to let me know if I'm still lagging or what's going on with my internet. As soon as the weather goes bad, my internet just goes to absolute pot. But there we go. I've done a reboot. I just heard you say Simmons is going to break his leg. That is unbelievable.
There's no in Spurs. It's just kind of the sort of thing that will happen, won't it? On the international break, first game, we're all excited about our new number 10, and he never plays again. It'd be very Spurs, wouldn't it?
True. Where are we at with the comments? Have we put these ones up yet?
No, the final 2 from Jack and Kev both haven't been brought up thus far.
Cool. So Jack's saying, Jack, one of our members, saying, I think Tell will be sold in January. I thought it was a possibility on deadline day. Feels like a Leipzig kind of signings. If Savinho comes in, it's definitely game over for him. Do you think we'll get Savinho in January, Frank? Do you think that's on or not?
I think ultimately it depends on what happens in the first half of the season. I know it sounds very obvious, right? But there's a lot that will happen, I think, in January because of the World Cup. There'll be a lot of players that move because of the World Cup, because they're not playing enough in the first half of the year. My guess would be they could well, if he doesn't play enough for City in the first half, it wouldn't shock me if they agreed a loan and then they pay 70 million in the summer or 65 million in the summer with an option or something. It wouldn't shock me at all. I think he is one that they're probably waiting for. I think Rodrigo is obviously still at Madrid. If he doesn't play enough football, there's plenty of players out there who are going to want to be playing enough games this year and won't be. And so loans will be quite prominent, I think, in the January window. So it'll be interesting to see who and what they can get done.
Absolutely, mate. Matthew Ball saying we only have one actual DM in Palinha, and Gray is a fake DM. He's best as a 10. Not sure I agree that Archie Gray's a 10, but I mean, I agree maybe he's not up to standard in the defensive mid position based on the fact that he hasn't got much experience. And Cam Shanks is saying, Cam, I didn't realise you're a member. Welcome to the Spurs Relatables, we like to call them. Apologies if we missed you becoming a member, or maybe you got gifted one by Super Spurs TV, aka Blaine. We have the money for Savio ready. There's no excuse to spend big in January, in my opinion. We saved 70-something million not getting Savinho in. Where that money must be there, Frank, surely. But I can see you brought up the squad. For me, is that good enough for Champions League? Like, I know the whole video was meant to be about, is our squad good enough, Frank? But for me, I've got some concerns. Like, Vicario, I'm happy with. Kinski, okay, back up. Austin, we don't know much about him, really. Porro, on his day, decent. Spence, doing very well. Romero, class. Danzo, very good backup. Van der Ven. Udogie, great. And then Davies, Gray, Johnson, Odebert, Charlison. It's not the strongest Champions League squad, is it?
It's not. I want to very quickly bring up a tweet as well. Another one not from yourself, from James Moore. As I say, at the Athletic, and this is something that I read a second ago, and this is kind of the confusion with it for me, that something is going pretty wrong when they've signed someone for 30 million quid in June, and he's not even in contention to be in the. He's not even in the squad to 2-3 months later.
Was it more? Was it more than 30 million?
It was plus quite a large loan fee last year, I think. So it's probably close to 40 odd, right? So
That's what I thought, yeah.
It's a lot of money for someone they're not actually going to use, and the manager doesn't rate. But as I say, they bought him after Thomas Frank came in. So I really don't understand what has happened. I don't think it's a case of they've had a fallout, because I just don't think it is. I just think it's a case of probably doesn't think he's good enough, which is fine. That's okay. Yeah. I have no issue with that. If I think he's good, but I'm not going to argue with Thomas Frank's idea. But then why did they buy him? This is the bit I don't get. That 30 million could have been so easily spent on whether it be Lookman. Maybe they didn't want Lookman, right? But that could have been put towards going up and getting Savinho, or that could have been put towards if it was Eze, or it could have been. Do you know what I mean? That there's a number of players that it feels like they could have gone and got and improved. That they could have gone and chucked half of that on a Kanji, and then put the other 15 million in what they're lacking in Savinho or whatever. And
how much did sorry, Frank, how much did a Kanji go to Inter Milan for? Was it a loan or was it?
It's a loan with an obligation. I think the obligation's 15 million euros.
That's what I thought. All right, so 15 million exactly. So. Just like why don't we go and put 18 million down on him? We know he's prem proven. He's 30 years old. You'd argue he's probably got 2 or 3 good years left in him. Experienced in Europe, experienced in the Premier League, and we clearly wanted. It was clear that we wanted a centre back. It was clear we wanted a left winger that's going to contest Johnson or actually come into this starting 11 straight away. So yeah, not to go off on a downer, but. I look at that squad and I can clearly see where the weaknesses are, and that's why I can never give it more than a 7 out of 10 window. I know I'm like a broken record, but for me, I just don't understand it.
There's a lot. It does look weak when you lay it out like that, right? And well, one sec. Let me bring this up again.
Sure.
This one. But when you lay it out like that, it does look weak, right? Because on there as well, that's implying everyone's fit. So instantly cross off James Maddison, and the Solanke and Ben Scarlett have accidentally been cropped out of that photo, the number 9s, right? So but just picture there. You instantly cross out Kulusevski. You instantly cross out James Maddison. You instantly cross out Basuma because he's not going to use him. Right. You've got your goalkeepers fine. The fullbacks, as I said 15 minutes ago, there's an issue there for me. That I think they needed a fullback. The centre halves, I said I think we needed left centre half. I think that was something that was a theme throughout the window, deadline day. That was we were lacking. The midfielders I'm okay with right now because you've got the 4, take out Basuma, plus Pape Sarr, who's been included as a number 10. He can play in that sort of pivot.
Sorry, Frank. Just to clarify, for those that are maybe just joining, this isn't the Champions League squad.
Yeah.
This is what we have in total. So we're comparing it to what we could have used. So obviously Tell's been left out. So has who on this has also been left out? Takai,
Basuma, Maddison, Kulusevski, and one other who I can't see. I can't remember who the other one was.
Sure.
But there's
another
one.
Frank, sorry, I've ruined your complete flow. I just want to catch up on the chat because it's going quite quickly, and so, especially like part of the becoming a member, guys. We bring your comments up before anyone else's, so the members obviously keep smashing the comments, and guys, all of you keep smashing the comments. I'll try and bring up as many as I can that cause talking points. But Brandon Wallace is saying Tell will have plenty of opportunities this season, so many competitions to prove. Yeah, he's going to have more time in the Carabao Cup, FA Cup, exactly that. I agree. The Tell move is confusing, says Cam. He's also said, I don't think City want to do business with us. I do agree. Talking Ball in here. What's up, fellas? Talking Ball. Hope you're well, mate. Hope you're doing good. Kev saying, it's... Sorry, I've lost it. It's good enough to get out of the league phase, at least till playoffs. I do agree, Kev, 100%. And we're just going to go down to the members here. Who would you guys leave out then, says Jack? Only Odobert could be sacrificed, in my opinion. And who for? Dragosin won't be fully fit. Kanji wanted starting role, hence moving to Inter with 3 at the back. But you could argue we're going to be playing 3 at the back a lot of the season. So would Kanji have come in? Although Danzo maybe first on that pecking order. Frank, what do you think? It is food for thought.
Yeah, I mean, I get the argument that I don't know who else you leave out. And so I do understand that point entirely. I think that this comes down to recruitment and planning, though, right? Given what we've got, maybe Tell being left out made most sense. I don't know if I'd rather have him or Odobert. I'm not sure. I think they're kind of so, right? I think they're kind of the same. But what I do think, like, as I say, I referenced James Moore tweet earlier on where he said that they really should have looked at someone like Kyle Walker-Peters and gone, you can come in, you ain't going to play that. He will be okay with that, right? You're going to pay him more than West Ham are. You're going to play him in the cup games, and let's not. He's a decent player, right? You could certainly, if you need to, play him in home Premier League games and things. Of course, you could. Like if you have to, that's not an issue. He's a decent enough player. You could have got him on a free transfer, come back to play in a squad where we needed a fullback anyway. That should have been a priority kind of anyway. I mean, we said this throughout the window. It would have made sense. It would have been a free transfer, a guy who could have, come in and helped tick off these policies and rules that you need in this. And then you could have had Tell in there as well. So you could have left out Ben Davies or someone, put him in, and then had Tell to as another option in attack. I mean, obviously they've loaned out Mikey Moore. There's Donnelly's gone, Phillips has gone. All the young players are gone. I don't think Dane Scarlett is in there. I imagine that's because I don't know. Can he be just brought in at any point because he's still a certain age? I'm not really sure how that works, but I don't know. I'm slightly confused by a lot of the processes of planning and what's gone on this summer. And this for me is only making sort of, emphasizing that confusion because I am slightly confused.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely, guys. The comments are coming in thick and fast. I thought maybe it'd be a quieter stream today with the transfer window ending up, but I was completely and utterly wrong. It's been insane. I mean, there's about 300 of you across all the socials. And guys, if you are watching on YouTube, we are doing a few more minutes still, so don't come off. But if you are on YouTube, make sure you do me 3 massive favors. Hit the like button. I think we're only on 40 something likes with 205 in the house on YouTube. Turn on those noti bells so you never miss us going live. And Frank, as he said in his video earlier, we're doing content every single day for you guys, videos, live streams. So hopefully you can join us on the journey. Hopefully you're enjoying being part of this community with us. Really appreciate all your support, and make sure, of course, you are subscribing if you are new. And the other thing I want you to do at the end of the video, before we all click off, because we're not at the end of the video yet, so don't click off. I want you to go and subscribe to Frank's channel, because he's started posting fairly regularly, or he did his first video yesterday. He's going to do another one, I think, tomorrow or something. So please do get over there. One tonight. There you go. So he's already got 2 videos over there. So please do, after this, go and smash the support for Frank. Because listen, Frank is here every single day. So please go and do that. I'm going to catch up on the chat, and then we're going to bring up a couple more things, aren't we? I was about to call you Andre then. Don't know why. That's my old co-host. Brain's gone. Game's gone, guys. Kev's saying, sorry, Frank, Kyle Walker-Peters is jokes. Don't get me wrong, the squad issues are a mess, but why is Morgan Gibbs-White losses was massive to the planning and getting homegrown? I think that's why they went for Morgan Gibbs-White. That's why they went for Eze, because it would have ticked that quota. I think that's probably the reason why Simmons wasn't the number 1 pick originally, because he's not homegrown, right? So I think that's probably played a part in this decision. Scott Hyman's in here saying, big up, Scott, big up yourself, mate. James, Tell was brought in because we couldn't sign Muani. Now we sign Muani after we've signed Tell. Make that make sense? What does that say about Tell? Guys, for me, like, get your 1s and 2s in the chat. We like to do the 1s and 2s, the engagement pieces, don't we? Put a 1 in the chat if you think signing Tell on a permanent was the correct decision, and put a 2 in the chat if you don't think it was the correct decision. And I want you to explain why you think it isn't the correct decision. So Kev, for example, explain why you think that. Because it's quite mixed, Frank. Look, Peter thinks it's a right decision. So does 4 or 5 of you. Numbers are going crazy. Razzle Dazzle, Archer, Matthew thinks it's the wrong decision. So does Jack. And so does Ghosted. I'd say it's probably 75% thinks it's the wrong decision to sign Tell on a permanent. And 25% think it was the right decision, like Michael. Luke Jarvis saying no as well. Market analysis. Guys, big up yourselves. You're always so interactive. I absolutely love it. It's absolutely crazy. So just to sort of summarize on this, Frank. Kota Takai, that makes sense, doesn't it? You know, he's injured. Ibasuma, he's probably going to be getting sold to Turkey or Saudi Arabia, where the window, I believe, is still open.
Yeah.
Dragosin's injured probably till what? Next year? ACL. Madison is injured definitely for most of the season, if not all. Kulusevski's injured for a lot of the season. So it's just really Tell that's the headache. But if there was no like homegrown thing, you'd say that Ben Davies would be getting left out. Guys, I know it's an if, and it's not even a question really. But who would you leave out if homegrown wasn't a factor in this? Because for me, if you look at our squad, you'd probably say like Brandon Austin or Ben Davies, or maybe who do you think, Frank?
Yeah, I mean the Ben Davies argument, you know, is probably the most sort of the one I'd look at the most. I mean, I get the comments, by the way. I saw some comments sort of pop up and whatever. I saw some comments about how buying players that you don't actually want, and Kyle Walker-Peters, and that was more just a name that I threw out there, right? There are enough homegrown players and whatever, and what that they could go out and find, or you keep a young player, club trained one coming through, and you include him or whatever it be. My point is I think the planning for the squad, whether Tell being left out or not, is the worst decision. I'm not saying it's the worst decision I've ever seen. Whatever, I think Tell's a good player. I think Tell will be a good player. I think he's gonna prove a lot of people wrong in his time at Spurs. On the flip side, I'm very confused by what's going on. I don't know why they bought him if he doesn't actually want him. But I do think it's harsh. I feel sorry for him. I think as I say, I think he'll turn it around. I think he'll be all right. But yeah, I think it's a little bit confusing. I have to be honest. Kind of the whole thing. But then again, did the Spurs ever make a decision that I'm not at some point confused by? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not saying it's a bad decision, by the way. I just think it does pose a number of questions. It poses a number of questions because Tell's a good player. Tell was a good player. You know, as I say, we didn't see a lot of him in 6 months last season, largely because he was playing in a side that got beat every week, first and foremost. And also, he was playing in the B team. He played in that Premier League B team, right? The one that was with weaker players around him and whatever. if you actually gave him a run out, and I said the other day, a run out in a team that was flowing and playing well, Matthias Tell would be a good player. So would Wilson Odobert. They're both good players. I think the squad is thin. I think him being left out doesn't make a lot of sense. There's a lot that I question about what's kind of going on, but I think that largely comes down to the planning. And I mean, Johan Lange obviously did an interview this evening with Ben Haynes, which I haven't seen yet. I'll watch at some point if I can muster up the courage to do so. But yeah, I'm a little bit confused by it all, to be honest.
Yeah, it is baffling, guys. Let's know if you feel. Here's a question. Ones and twos in the chat. You guys are great at doing this. Give me a 1 if you are feeling confused and possibly more subdued about the transfer window, given the fact that we now realise that we had to drop Tell. Or give me a 2 if you don't actually care and that Tell should have been dropped anyway because he's not good enough. Because I agree with a lot of the comments, like Darren, for example. Like, he's 20 years old. Like, I understand the frustration that he's not there yet, and I understand the frustration that we've bought him, because I feel the same. Like, I don't understand why we did buy him. I'd have rather used that 40 million towards Savinho, and even if it meant we bid 90 million for Savinho, we got him, right? And we're using a starting left wing. But for me, like, if he's not good enough for the Champions League, like, it's just confusing. It's just confusing why it's been done like this. I am baffled. I'm baffled. I just, for me, this almost makes the window a 6 out of 10, not a 7 out of 10. Because would Thomas Frank have selected him if they got the homegrown thing right, Frank? I think he probably would have done.
Yeah,
I think he probably would have done. So it's probably a difficult decision. To be honest with you, I can't stand it when players we sent online hardly get any games. Also, that's the other thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, Frank. Because we've loaned out so many young English players, is that not a mistake as well?
Well, this is the thing, right? So Dane Scarlett's still there, and the loans I try and really keep up with, and I try and every year go and watch a couple of them in and around and whatever. And last year we had some great loans. Donnelly did really well. Keeley did really well both at Leyton Orient. Dane did all right at Oxford, and then got tried back in January and came out and scored a goal or whatever for Spurs, but nothing that special. Obviously, Vuskovic was good out in Belgium with Devine. This year, Devine started pretty well. Donnelly's not really playing. Ashley Phillips isn't playing or starting enough games. Will Lancashire is the only one currently that's starting games and playing well. He's scoring goals. George Abbott was brilliant last year in League Two. Isn't really starting for Wickham. Tyrese Hall's not starting. There's a lot of these guys that could have been part of something, and that's instead of buying players you don't want. In terms of numbers, it makes sense. I'm obviously Mikey Moore's gone on loan as well. I'm a little bit confused by it all, as I say, but I don't think leaving Matthias Tell out is the craziest decision of all time. I just think it's the way that a lot of the planning that I'm probably more frustrated with, and how this same kind of thing happened last year. That I think a lot of the planning going into what they did was wrong, and it subsequently we had probably one of the worst injury crises we've ever seen. We struggled to win a lot of games, and we had one of the worst seasons league-wise that we've had in I think the worst ever. So I think that does come from poor planning, and I think that poor planning is yet again at the forefront, sadly, of what we're going to do this season.
Absolutely, mate. How do you feel about that first game then? Question for the chat as well. Like that Villarreal game in just 2 weeks, I believe, 2 weeks yesterday, on the 16th of September. Yeah. Are you feeling confident with that squad now, or do you think we could have a banana skin there? Do you think we could maybe draw or lose that game?
I mean, listen, every Champions League game is difficult, right? Every Champions League game is a possible banana skin. I still think that those 4 home games are all very, very winnable. I still think they're all very winnable games. I'm still quite confident of that. I am a little bit, maybe concerned. Solomon can play. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be.
you know what's going to happen, don't you?
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a night, though, isn't it? 8 o'clock under the lights, and you're playing against Thomas Partey and Manor Solomon.
Oh no, not Thomas Partey. Out there. That's a swear word on here.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing, right? I'm still confident enough that we have enough good players, and then system-wise is good enough, and everything's good enough that they can easily get 12 points from the home games, and that Villarreal game will listen, it's going to be difficult. You're playing a team that are in the Champions League for a reason. They're there on merit. They deserve to be there. But I think we are a better side, and I think we will improve. We will improve long term as time goes on, and I think we will. I think that squad is still good enough to I mean, if Matisse Tell had been in there, maybe Davis had, and I say Walker Peters was there or whoever, I use that name as an example. I'm not sure we'd be sitting here worried about that game. Do you know what I mean? And is Tell probably going to start? Probably not. So as much as I am confused by the decision, Matisse Tell probably isn't going to start in the Champions League. So I don't think him being excluded from the squad it is maybe as much of a talking point as to say, will Villarreal be a problem now? Because I think the squad was thin before I knew what the squad was tonight. And I think that confidence hasn't left me just yet.
Absolutely. Gary Bex is saying it's sad. That's what it is. But Frank would have only let him out because his alternative is probably more important. And none of us have a crystal ball, but what will transpire, Frank included. And a lot of good comments tonight, guys. Kev G saying you can't have players stagnating at Spurs and you can't control how many games youth players will play at the club on loan. It's not easy. I agree. It's not easy, but I think there was, potentially better ways they could have, did they really need to send certain players out on loan that could have helped that homegrown quota and then maybe influence the squad? I mean, I don't know. I've seen a lot of Archie Gray hate tonight. I mean, listen, the guy's young. The kid's young. He played out of position under Ange for the majority of his playing numbers. We haven't actually seen him much in the six, don't forget. So I think I'd give Archie Gray some time, guys. I mean, listen, the kid's young. Like, he's 20 years old. It's like, I think the likes of Tell, the likes of Gray, Odebear, I agree. They're not at Champions League level. They're not even necessarily at high level Premier League level, but you give them 1 or 2 seasons and then you make sure you move them on. You don't do the thing where you keep players years and years and years like we did with Hill, like we did with Ndombele, like we did with, Lo Celso, when we know it wasn't going to work and we just held on to them for so many years. It's absolutely nuts. God, I've put one comment up and there's about 15 that have come in since, Frank. If I don't bring your comment up, apologies. Bayern must have seen something to have bought Tell in first place. I just don't see it. Why do you think Bayern got rid? I don't know. Good question, guys. Debate it amongst yourselves. I mean, maybe there was a clause in the Harry Kane contract, about having to buy certain Bayern Munich players. Who knows? I don't think we'll ever know. We know that Levy was a nightmare to deal with because Kane came out and said it himself in his first press conference. So this means Solanke probably isn't 3 months, says Christian. Yeah, Solanke's in the squad, isn't he? So this season is going to be tough, but I do feel confident we'll do all right. Guys, where do you think last engagement piece of the session, where do you think we're going to finish? And how do you think we're going to do in the Champions League? Do you think we'll get to the next round? And do you think we'll finish top 6? Put in a little comment below. I should have loaned more to Sheffield Wednesday. They needed players. Yeah, I think they needed money as well. Jack saying, I think Tell and Odebear will be gone by the end of the season when Kolo comes back. Another player has to be sacrificed. Odebear needs to be an impact soon. Is this our squad for the whole Champions League then, Frank? Or is it just the first stage?
Just the group.
Until
February time.
So could we potentially see Kulusevski in the next stage if we obviously get there?
Okay. Yeah, if he's fit enough, I imagine they'll have him in.
Okay. We're going to do literally one more thing. But before we do that one more thing, please do me 4. It's 4, it's not 3, it's 4. 4 massive favours. As we said before, if you want to become a member down below, it's in the description. There's a join button and you can have your chat prioritised in the chat. Like I said, I've been bringing up the guys with the little badge next to their name. It's £2 a month. And you can also come on and have your say in member fan phone-in shows when we all have a rage if we've lost a game. That's the first thing if you want to. And there's super chats available as well if you want to help contribute. Frank's already bought himself a new mic with some of the kind donations, for example. So that all helps. Make sure you're hitting like. That's all free. Everyone should be doing that. Turning on the notification bell. Everyone should be doing that. It's down below. We're going to be doing lives and videos daily. Make sure you're subscribing if you are new to Spurs Related. Down below. Also free. Everyone should be doing it. And the fourth thing I would love you to do, every single one of you, to show your support, and there's no reason why everyone can't do this, please, guys, is click on this link in the YouTube chat now that I am going to be spamming. I haven't even checked the link, so God knows what Frank sent me. It could be anything. It could be how to train your dragon or something. But that link there in the chat, please all go and click on it and subscribe to Frank's channel down below in that live chat. I'm going to put it in a couple more times. It's not me spamming. I'm allowed to spam.
I think that link is the one that takes you to my latest video, which came out in the last 10 minutes.
Right.
But yeah, any support is obviously greatly appreciated.
Let's all go and whack the thumbs up on that and give Frank a little subscribe as well while you're Kev, you've already subscribed. Big up yourself. Big up yourself. Colin, hi young men. Hi young man. Colin, hi. Jack saying can confirm it's How to Train Your Dragon 2. I wouldn't be surprised with Frank. And I think we'll be top 16 in Champions League with that draw. I think the league will be a war for 5th and 6th. What are those midgets doing in that? Brilliant. Oh, you're going to get me cancelled. Anyway, the last thing I wanted to do was ask you guys what you think in the Champions League out of is it 8 games, Frank?
Yeah.
How many points do you think we'll get? Is it 24? Is it 16? Is it 12? Let me know. I'll do that final thing. And as you're doing that, guys, I want you to all go and click on that link and give Frank's video a watch after this and a subscribe. But Christian's saying 15 or 16. John subscribed. Thank you very much, John, for doing that. I feel that Spurs could finish from 5th to 10th, depending on what transfer window we had. I would say 6th or 8th. Kev also thinks 16. Frank, what do you think?
What points for the group?
Yeah.
I think we'll win the 4 home games. I think we'll lose to PSG, and I think we will win. Yeah, I think 15, 16 is probably a pretty fair analysis of it. Yeah, I think that 16 would get you into the top 8, or it would have done last year. So if you're getting 16 or 17 points, you're probably going to finish in the top 8.
So what's that? 4 wins, 3 draws, 1 loss.
4 wins. I'd say 5 wins. I think we'll win one of the away ones, and then so that takes you to 15.
I think we're going to slip up at Monaco for some reason.
Yeah, I do.
And I think who's the other away ones? PSG
and Frankfurt and Bodo Glimt.
Frankfurt's not easy. I know they've lost a lot of their players, but I don't think that's easy. I remember going there 3 years ago on an away trip, and it was 0-0. Went all the way on like 2 connecting flights last minute, and it was 0-0. What was the other one? Bodo Glimt. Got to win there, surely. They're nothing special. James thinks 16. Ashkan says, I never rate tell. Give him time, Ashkan. Give him time. I'd be happy with top 10 and win a trophy, John. I'd take that all day. I'd take 17th and a trophy. 17th, and I don't know how. This is Spurs. Anything will shock you, says Cole. And finally, 25 points for Regards and Dyer scoring a header for Monaco. Guys, as I said, 4 massive favours. Please like, subscribe, note your bells on. We'll be back again tomorrow because that's what we do. And we love making the content for you guys. And the 4th favour is, as I said, please go and subscribe to Frank's channel. It's in the live chat now 3 times. Go and click on it. Give him a like. Give him a subscribe. Let him know what you think on the video. Go and show your support. And we'll be back tomorrow again for another video or live stream. Turn your noties on and you'll never miss it. And remember, as always, come on, you Spurs! Great stream, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.